What are the limits of political discourse?
I do object to being called a Nazi, actually.
Protest and campaigning are an absolute bedrock of any democracy, and the right to stand noisily and sometimes irritatingly outside the House of Commons, making your point of view known to politicians and lawmakers as they walk in and out, must be a fundamental of British democracy. But this week, the Metropolitan Police have been forced to agree to step up with security around the parliamentary estate after a number of MPs and other figures found themselves being harassed and abused as they walked to and from the Houses of Parliament. It should be stressed that this is not run-of-the-mill campaigning or agitation. This is organised harassment and intimidation of Remain-minded and left-wing politicians by people on the extreme edges of the pro-Brexit community, a clear attempt to intimidate politicians whose views they don't share. This is almost the Twitterification of politics, going off of social media and into real life, and it's clearly extremely unpleasant and frightening for anyone at the receiving end. But unfortunately, what we're seeing here isn't restricted to the area around the Houses of Parliament. This is a trend that we are seeing across British politics as people attempt to intimidate and shout down their political opponents. It's not long since a Labour MP was murdered by a member of the far right because of her pro-Remain views. That should have been a warning signal to everybody in a moment to dial down the political rhetoric. But in fact, it's gone the other way. As passion and feeling around Brexit has intensified, the rhetoric has got worse and worse. The media has played its part, politicians have played their part, and the increased entrenchment of the different camps are encouraging people to justify and explain away what is clearly unacceptable behaviour. Even perfectly sensible commentators are saying, well, of course I don't approve of this, but they brought it on themselves. This is clearly not a way that politics can function. And this problem goes right up to the top. John McDonnell, the Labour Shadow Chancellor, has talked in the past about Tories facing direct action every time they go out on the streets because of their terrible policies. Now, he clearly doesn't mean they should be physically attacked, but that kind of talk legitimises the intimidatory tactics that politicians are finding themselves subjected to increasingly. This level of anger is in nobody's interest. Words matter, tone matters. All political leaders need to take a step back, draw a breath, and instruct their own supporters to dial down the rhetoric so that political discourse gets back to an acceptable level for everyone.